So there's going to be a whole lot that's coming out from the Cape Town, from South Africa there, where there's a lot of dignitaries that actually even from here in Nigeria that have been attending proceedings. Honorable Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Chief Timothy Silva from Nigeria is going to. Yep, they see we're getting footage of some of the panels that have been going on with discussions there. Group Managing Director of the NNPC, Mele Kyari, also in attendance. Wale Tinubu, the CEO of Owando, who is also there as well. Mr. Barkindo, OPEC's secretary, also there as well. So a whole lot going on there. And yes, I believe now we're joined by our very own Boason Omofaye, Arise business analyst, and actually a host of this show in Cape Town, joining us to discuss more on the African Energy Week. Boason, good evening to you. Great to have you with us. Tell us, Boason, how is Cape Town and what's the main agenda of the 3-day Africa Energy Week in Cape Town that started today?
Oh, okay. So thank you, Rotus. The 3-day event is kicking off on a very high level. If you consider the level of the energy ministers, the oil and gas industry operators, the independents, the CEOs, the various organizations who are in the business of energy across Africa. Now, this is not just an African event, by the way. These are conversations being held with very significant energy industry interest from North America, from the US, from Canada, from Britain, from the UK, from elsewhere. So even though it's called an Africa Energy Week, yes, the big representation that we're seeing here today and that will be throughout the week are all about those who have interest in the Africa energy business. You're talking about big names such as Tulu Oil, British Petroleum, Chevron, and all of that. You can see these big names are interested in Africa. Again, remember, Africa is the last economic frontiers, whether it is in energy, whether it is in agriculture, investment, infrastructure, destination investment, in exports, in mineral resources. So everyone is interested really in what is going on in Africa. For example, the Nigeria's Petroleum Industry Act came into a very sharp focus in a Nigeria-focused session and a panel today where you have at least about 4 or 5 Nigerian experts speak to the PIA and what cooperation and what investments Nigerians want to see in the energy sector moving forward. The whole conversation is taking place at a very, very opposite time. Rotus.
Great stuff, Boason. Now, why is this summit important alongside ongoing COP26 conference in Glasgow?
Well, if you ask me, Rotus, I think the organizers and the Africa Energy Chamber, led by Executive Chairman NJ Ayuk, I think they just decided to align this with the second week of the UN Climate Change Conference in Glasgow. You know, the big conversation in Glasgow is about Africa needing about $2.8 trillion to resolve our energy transition, net zero emissions, whether it's going to be 2050, 2060, or 2070. The conversation is all around about investment. It's not about blame game, but again, where do we find the money? How do we fund it? What new innovative thinking, creative policy ideas and actions can we all bring to the table in order to resolve the energy crisis on the African continent? For the delegates here in Cape Town, Rotus, it's all about removing energy poverty in Africa. That is what the delegates here want to focus on. Africa has a very serious energy deficit. Is it in Nigeria? Is it in Sudan? Is it in every part of the continent? The number of Africans who are out of energy sustainability is huge and humongous. So the whole idea is, how do we transit from where we're coming from to where we are, and how do we find a new horizon that Africa will be able to take on board, first, to satisfy its current energy needs, and second, to meet those very climate change issues, very important issues that we need to do moving forward in terms of climate adaptation, in terms of sustainable green energy, making the environment very sustainable. All these conversations are what is being discussed here. They are not just on a general basis, but on a country by country, on a number of country by country basis.
Excellent stuff, Boason. Excellent. Now, what about the highlights of today's opening sequence of the African Energy Week, if you can tell us some?
Well, of course, as you expect, the opening sequence was very heavy. There were a number of energy ministers across Africa that spoke, some virtually, others were on the ground. The whole Cape Town waterfront frontier was very busy. Again, this is one major event. Remember, we're all coming through from the COVID-19 pandemic. This is a major event with South Africa hosting it. So a lot of folks who are not here to traveling were here. They come to represent their organizations. They come to represent their sovereign states. They come to represent the various interest groups, the stakeholders in the private sector, in investments, in law. There's going to be a whole lot of issues among national oil corporations such as the NNPC, the NOC of Libya, Sonangol in Angola, and all of them are here. Reuters, you'll be surprised, because there's also need for African oil producers and the national oil corporations to also cooperate and find a common agenda in terms of how much oil are we already producing and gas, how much do we still have in reserves that need to be exploited. For example, South Africa, Total, is doing major exploration and looking for oil fields off the coast of South Africa. It's happening in Ivory Coast, for example. Uganda is also moving in the same direction. So Africa is still very keen, neck deep in hydrocarbon. Don't make no mistake about that. Africa needs this very quickly. Africa needs the money. Africa needs the investment. Africa needs to bring energy sustainability to its people. So the transition, therefore, is the key conversation. How do we walk around what is necessary? And in line with the rest of the world, we need a cleaner and better planet. There's no doubt about that. Africa needs it. We're still cooking with firewood in so many large area parts of the continent. Women are still involved. Children. Some of them are using kerosene and other types of very fossil fuel that are very dirty and not very good for women, especially some of them that are pregnant and nursing mothers. So Africa needs very clean energy. We need a climate that is better for everyone. But again, the transition is the main conversation. How do we transit to a better tomorrow?
Excellent stuff, Boason. We'll be looking forward to more highlights from you from a very interesting Africa Energy Week in Cape Town. Boason Omofaye, Arise business analyst and host of this very show, Arise Exchange. Boason, it's a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much. We appreciate your insights and giving us the lowdown on the beginning of the Africa Energy Week in Cape Town.